Hi, I'm David Lee from BASSBOSS, and this is the Attuned 12. The Attuned 12 was conceived to be a lighter and louder option for mid-high that fits between the DV12 and the AT212. The Attuned 12 is a 12-inch two-way loudspeaker with a 90-degree horizontal by 60-degree vertical horn. It's 55 pounds. It is still made out of birch ply. It has handles on the sides, which the DV12 didn't have. So it's a little bit easier to get a hold of and lift up onto a pole. You can lift from the front, you can lift from the back. Plus on the back, we have little grab handles for carrying it from the back. It has a curved grille that has no screws holding it in place. So it's a nice clean aesthetic. And the grille is backed by a hydrophobic cloth. For a lot of applications where the clean aesthetic's important, this box has got a more neutral look than a DV12 or even an AT212. We made it so that the whole thing is very slick and we hope appealing to folks who wanted a more conservative aesthetic than the DV12 and AT212 offer. The horn is rotatable, so you can have 60-degree horizontal by 90-degree vertical should you need to, or rotate the box and hang it or mount it horizontally to get your 90 horizontal back again. One of the things that this design provides is more flexibility in vertical deployment. This box can be mounted higher and aimed downwards, whereas the DV12 really needs to be aimed straight across the top of the audience. This box can be higher and pointed down into the audience, making it a little bit more flexible, particularly for installations around dance floors or where you need to get the speakers out of the sight line. It's intended to be flown in various different applications. So you have 4 fly points on the top and 2 on each side, and 4 fly points on the bottom. So this box can be put on truss and you have a lot more flexibility with it. Obviously, this particular one is white, which has availability now. They are going to be available in the standard black. So if you prefer, you can have whichever one works for your particular application. It is a 2-channel amplifier with a 2400 watt section dedicated to the low frequency and an 800 watt section dedicated to the high frequency. I always shy away from talking about how much power amplifiers deliver because most of the time you're not using all that at one time. But it suffices to say that this thing has a lot of headroom and a lot of output capacity and will deliver significant amounts of SPL. It has the same standard functionality as all the Mark III cabinets do. Signal input, signal pass-through. It's controllable via our control base app. It has LEDs that indicate which preset's loaded and status of ready, how much signal you're getting, whether you're getting into thermal issues, and whether you're connected to the local network. And it'll indicate if there's any kind of issue by the Protect LED. It has a PowerCon True 1, weatherproof power input and through. Like the rest of the Mark III series, there are 8 preset LEDs, and they load in sequence from preset 1 to preset 8. And we actually have now implemented mechanisms to have up to 15 presets, which will indicate by virtue of showing preset 1 and 8, making 9, and so on. So you just add the indicators together, and you can just step through them with the preset select button. This starts off with a high-pass filter preset at 50 in preset 1, and then moves up in 10 hertz increments, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, etc. The Attuned 12 is part of the AT series, and ATs are intended to be run with subwoofers. We've got the AT312, which is a 3-way point source box. Then we've got the AT212, which is a 2-way box, roughly the same scale as the 312. It's lighter, quite a bit lighter, and it is equally loud. In some ranges, louder. So it's more of a high SPL box than a high resolution box. And this box sort of tries to combine both of those advantages. It has the tighter spacing and it's optimized for high output and really strong mid-range. So it gives you advantages that the 312 kind of offers at a much smaller scale. So it adds a lot to the attuned line. We chose to put a very high sensitivity 12-inch woofer in it, which gives it really good output in the mid-range, even better than the DV12. What that means to me is that I can put 3 subwoofers underneath it rather than 2 and be at 8 feet. So that's kind of the cool thing. And then of course you're still lifting a lighter loudspeaker on top of the stack. And so, you know, concentrating that mid-high energy up there and just giving up some of the low-end capability of a box like a DV12 makes it a very versatile choice and gives you a lot of freedom. It's also a great box for a DJ monitor, for instance, or a side fill, because it does have that wider vertical pattern, even wider in the, you know, in the transition frequency and the mid-range frequencies than the 212. And so, you know, if you have a tall DJ, a short DJ, you don't have to worry about raising and lowering it. The 312 is a little bit of a different animal in that it is a 3-way box and it has a different combination of drivers and crossover points and coverage pattern. The 312 is an 80-degree conical point source and really shouldn't be arrayed. Technically, this box is arrayable. It's recommended that if you are going to array it, you remove the grille, remove the horn, rotate it, and reinstall it, and then you have a less of an overlap pattern. Honestly, most of the time, you're going to get a better result by placing it correctly. And you know, if you're aiming the boxes, normally people will do this to aim them straight, like if the stage is that way. If you aim the boxes in slightly like this, you'll cover the entire area with just 2, where you would previously think, oh, I want to cover the outside area with a box over here and do this, put them next to each other, and then you get comb filtering. The output capability of this allows you to turn those inwards and cover your far field with the box on the opposite side. And again, miniaturize your system, buy less gear, and do more with it rather than spend more money on it, and it's less time setting up and stuff like that. So don't imagine that you need 4 until you've maxed the capacity of 2, because they are very capable. In that context, yeah, the 312 is like the crazy studio monitor. The 212 is your, you know, large format, mid-high that's been miniaturized and lightened. And then this is the next thing. It's even more compact, even lighter, still the same capability with wider dispersion than the 212, and essentially the same mid-range capability, very nearly, as the 212, but so much easier to manage. This box is really intended to be used as a mid-high. The Attuned 12, the AT line stands for attuned tops, and tops are obviously what you put above a subwoofer. They're not intended to be full range. So this box can operate relatively low, but it's going to be output limited at the bottom end. So it's best to use it with subs. It is extremely loud. It is very sensitive. So you can put a fair amount of low end underneath it if you want to. Exactly how many is kind of up to you, but you could readily run this with 4 single 18s and still have plenty of capacity left on the top end. You know, you can combine this with any one of our subwoofers. Everything always works with everything else. But as far as how much low end you need and how many subs you want to use, this thing's got a tremendous amount of outputs. One BB15, one SSP118, one DJ18 will get you the low end support to start with. You can readily combine this with, personally for my taste, I'd use this with a Kraken or 4 VS21s. If the space is a constraint, maybe just 2, 3 ZV28s, so that kind of thing. As your, you know, low frequency demand increases with regard to like the type of music or the scale of the venue, more subwoofers. Obviously, you can combine this with, like I said, 421s. it has a tremendous amount of output. It's very sensitive, very high output, and plenty of power in this unit to be able to keep up with a lot of low end, however much you probably could imagine putting with it. So one of the things about this is you're not going to have a situation where you're going to be wishing that the top was louder. Sometimes you get to a point where it just can't cut through the crowd. This box was intended to be able to get above whatever and still be something that you could literally just lift up and put on a pole. This is more similar in a lot of ways to the AT212, but it makes it a lot more approachable, makes it a lot more manageable in terms of physical size. And the output of this thing is remarkable. But if you're operating it with those subs and you're utilizing one of the presets that takes that low end demand out, it is very loud. So it makes one person setups with a significant amount of output a lot easier than any of the other boxes that we've made so far, with the possible exception of the Diamond and the CCM. If you're a one-person operator, this is a much easier box to manage, and you're not compromising almost anything in the top end with regard to the comparison to the 212. We hope that it's going to please a lot of folks. Certainly, we like the way it sounds. It's very hi-fi, sounds really good, and is surprisingly loud for something that is so easy to pick up and carry around. So that's the overview of the Attune12. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and we hope to see you again soon.